صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for attending tonight's event. Inshallah, we will have a very interesting lecture by Sheikh Hamam. But before we begin, we would like to give 2 points. The first point is, as you may have noticed as you were walking into the masjid, to the entrance there are these plastic bins where you can donate perishable food items. Of course, it's a very particularly good timing considering we're in the Shahr of Ramadan, where of course we are fasting, and so we can especially think about those who are not fortunate enough to have food. So this is our way of helping them out, of course. AHY do this partnering with various food banks, Muslim associations as well, to be able to donate this food to the needy. And the second point is that today we are going to have a very special program for the youth, particularly because we were going to have a Sahna night where it will be a circle for the youth only, so no parents, just the youth, from starting at 9:30 p.m. today, inshallah. And so this is a very important and valuable opportunity for you, so I really encourage them to attend. It will be in person only. So for those of you watching online, you still have a chance to make it, so be alert for 9:30 p.m. inshallah. And with that, please welcome Sheikh Hamam and Salawat. Brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Holy Quran used different styles to convey its message or to convey its messages. When we read the Quran al-Kareem, we realize that at times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents examples, what we call amthal, to confirm a particular point pertaining to beliefs, for example, or jurisprudence or morals. Similarly, the Quran al-Kareem also presents wisdoms, what we call hikam. It addresses the intellect, and when the human being reads these wisdoms and actually understands what the Quran al-Kareem is saying, the intellect instantaneously accepts the wisdom presented by the Quran. A third style that the Quran al-Kareem used to convey its message was telling stories. As you know, the Quran al-Kareem presented different types of stories pertaining to different societies or civilizations. He informs us of, for example, the story of Adam alayhi salam, or the story of Habil and Qabil, Abel and Cain, or the story of Noah, the story of Hud and Salih alayhi salam, etc.
These stories are very important. Why? Number one, because they're universal. Universal in what sense? In the sense that they contain morals and lessons from which all humans can benefit. Not only the Arabs, for example, or the Arabs and the Persians. No, everyone. Everyone in the East or the West can benefit from the Quranic stories. Secondly, the stories are timeless. As in, even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs you of an incident or a story that took place thousands of years before, that story is still relevant to you today. It is relevant. It has morals and or lessons that you should benefit from, that you can benefit from. Thus, to be honest, one of the best ways to teach ourselves Quranic concepts and to teach our children especially Quranic concepts, Islamic values, etc., is learning these Quranic stories, teaching them to ourselves and to our children. This is a very important point because we're going through difficult times in this era, especially in the West. If we look at the circumstances that humanity as a whole is going through, we realize that there is a, let's say, metaphysical battle, not a physical battle, a metaphysical battle over who? Over children. There are certain movements, certain forces out there that want to spoil our children from their childhood. Thus, as responsible parents or elder siblings, etc., it is very important that we teach the youth and the children proper Islamic values before it is too late. Before they're taught concepts or ideas or beliefs that are non-Islamic by these forces or movements that we're talking about. One of the best ways we can nourish the upcoming generation and our children with Islamic concepts, with Islamic values, is what? Using the Quranic stories. Stories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Holy Quran. Ahlul Bayt salawatullah alayhim have told us to rush. To rush into doing what? To rush into teaching our children before it is too late. Listen to the following tradition by Imam al-Sadiq salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh, which you find in Al-Kafi. He says, بادروا أولادكم بالحديث قبل أن يسبقكم إليهم المرجئة. He says, rush and speak to your children, teach them our narrations, the narrations of Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhim, before al-murajji'ah reach them, before they come to them and they teach them their own concepts, their own beliefs. It seems Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam was worried over the children of the Shi'as. He was concerned because the presence of al-murajji'ah was dangerous. Who are al-murajji'ah? The word al-murajji'ah refers to two groups of people. Number one, a group of Muslims who used to believe that if you utter the word of belief or you hold belief in your heart, then you don't have to translate that belief into action. As long as you believe or utter the word of belief, then you're good to go. This is a group, again, it was a group amongst the Muslims known as al-Murajji'ah. However, the word murajji'ah is also used in reference of those who oppose Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Those who believe that Ali ibn Abi Talib was not the direct caliph after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. In short, Imam al-Sadiq here is giving us golden advice, telling us, rush towards teaching your children values, concepts, and beliefs of Ahlul Bayt before other people come to them and spoil them, brainwash them. Today, my brothers and sisters, we don't have, one group that we should fear. There are multiple groups, multiple movements, multiple, forces that want my children and yours, that want to spoil the upcoming generation. How do we preserve the upcoming generation? How do we protect them? How do we protect our younger siblings, for example? By teaching them the concepts of Ahlul Bayt, especially by teaching them the Quranic stories. Interestingly, one of the stories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greatly stressed upon in the Quran was the story of Lut, salawatullahi alayhi, Nabiyullah Lut. It is one of the repetitive stories in the Quran. When you read the Quran from Al-Fatiha to Al-Nas, you realize Allah ta'ala repeats certain statements. And He repeats certain stories, such as the story of Musa, sallallahu alayhi, the story of Hud, Salih, Ibrahim. Interestingly, one of the repetitive stories in Al-Quran is the story of Lut, sallallahu alayhi. Why does Allah ta'ala repeat that story? Because Allah Azza wa Jalla wants to remind us of the morals and the lessons that pertain to that story. The morals and lessons we derive from it. When Allah Ta'ala repeats certain statements or messages in Al-Quran al-Kareem, He's emphasizing on those statements and messages. He wants them to be part of you, part of your Islamic identity. Hence, tonight, with the limited time we have, we want to shed light on the story of Lut, alayhi salam, which is a story that we highly need, especially in our day and age. Because as all of you know, or many of you know, the people of Lut were afflicted with what? With which sin? The sin of homosexuality. They were homosexuals. The Quran said it. Wide and clear. The Quran said it clearly. And because of that sin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala annihilated the people of Lut, sallallahu alayhi, excluding who? Excluding Lut and his daughters. No one else. Only Lut and his daughters were saved. The rest were annihilated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence, tonight inshallah we're going to shed light on the story. Now I believe you know that the Quran mentioned several or different details regarding the story of Lut sallallahu alayhi. Thus I'm going to shed light on a few points that Ahlul Bayt mentioned in their narrations and a few verses of the Quran regarding the dialogue between Lut and his people prior to their annihilation. Inshallah, we shall do so after a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Believe it or not, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam inform us that the people of Lut were righteous. What were they? They were righteous. They were good people. Our Prophet says it alayhi salam in a lengthy tradition. He says they were good people. And for that reason, Shaitan, Allah, was very keen at misleading them. He was greedy. Because when the devil, Allah, realizes that you're pure, that you're righteous, he becomes more greedy at misleading you. Because when you're pure and righteous, you're a gem. You're valuable in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are a walking, talking gem. So Shaitan wanted to mislead the people of Lut. How did he mislead them? Abu Ja'far al-Baqir alayhi salam says, he says they were righteous, but they had a deficiency. They had one negative trait, and that was stinginess. They were stingy. Because of their stinginess, they became homosexuals. How? What's the relationship? Long story short, they were living in a specific area where travelers would come to their cities. So they were in a specific land, and people traveling from Sham to Egypt or from Egypt to Sham would come to their cities. Now, when travelers arrive, you have to do what? You have to be generous with them, right? You have to treat them well. They're, at the end of the day, guests. So you have to host your guests, treat them well, show them hospitality, etc. The people of Lut did not like this. Why are people coming to our cities? You were stingy. On the other hand, Lut alayhi salam, being the infallible prophet, was generous. All prophets are generous. Lut was generous. He would love to have guests. His people were not generous. And so, Shaitan, the devil, la'anahullah, he used that negative trait in the people of Lut against them. How so? The traditions tell us, the traditions of Ahlul Bayt, that the devil came in the form of a human being, in the form of a man who had some female features. As in, he was a man, but he looked somewhat like a woman, like a lady. He came to the people of Lut. Here we need to understand that the devil, Allah, has the power to take a human form. And it might tell us that sometimes the shaitan takes the form of a human. Yes. Allah Ta'ala does not allow him to take the forms of the infallibles. So shaitan cannot come to you in the form of Rasulullah, for example, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, or the Imams, or Sayyidah Zahra, sallallahu alayhi. But sometimes he takes the form of a particular human. Let me give you an example before we continue the story of Lut. When the polytheists were plotting against Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and they wanted to come to, a final solution in regards to Muhammad. What should we do with him? This was before the migration. They came with the following solution, the following plot. Let us bring one man from every tribe and let them all collectively kill the Prophet at the same time. Right? There's a hadith that says the individual who presented that idea was Iblis himself. Shaitan was present in the gathering of the aristocrats of Quraysh, and he took the form of an old man from Najd. He presented that idea to the aristocrats, and so they accepted it. And they went on to implement. They went to implement it. So Shaitan came to the people of Lut alayhi salam, and unfortunately taught them homosexuality. Taught them homosexual movements. This is where the deen was introduced to them. Interestingly, what does the Imam say? The Imam says, alayhi salam, at first, they did not desire, again, they did not desire committing homosexual deeds. Which is a very important point. It's a reminder that the human being initially is created in a way he inclines towards the opposite gender, not the same gender. Allah Ta'ala instilled in us desire towards who? The opposite gender, because He wants us to get married and have children. Right? No one is created in a way such that he is homosexual or she is homosexual from birth. Imam Bakr says it, alayhi salam. At first they did not desire that deed. But then what happened? They began practicing it. And with time, they started desiring it. Here we're reminded of a dangerous reality, which is sometimes you might indulge in a sin that you don't like, a sin you truly dislike. But if you persist at committing that sin, you might get to the point where you enjoy it. Take the example of killing. Killing an innocent soul. If someone is innocent, he'll have trouble killing a chicken, killing an animal, killing a cow, for example, right? But if someone starts to kill innocent human beings, at a certain point, he will start enjoying his deed. Wouldn't Al-Hajjaj al-Thaqafi enjoy torturing people? He would enjoy it. He got to the point where killing people, torturing them, severing their bodies into parts was enjoyable for him. Right? So Imam al-Baqir reminds us of this reality. When a person does a sin that he dislikes, if he persists at doing it, at a certain point, it becomes a habit, and in fact, it becomes enjoyable. So here, unfortunately, they became homosexual. Meanwhile, what was Lut doing, alayhi salam? Ahlul Bayt tell us. Lut was warning them, calling them to Allah's path, subhanahu wa ta'ala, telling them to repent. He kept on admonishing them for 30 years. Look at the patience of the prophets. 30 years, calling them, speaking to them, admonishing them. Here, there's also another lesson, which is, if Lut is calling them and telling them to come back, that means even if someone, God forbid, becomes homosexual, there's always a chance to come back. There's a chance to repent. You can repent. Unfortunately, today you have certain movements or groups that are telling you, no, if you're homosexual, you can't change. You have to follow what you desire. Quran says no. That's not right. You're a human being. You have incredible willpower. If you want to change, you can. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Successful is the one who purifies it. I mean, if I can control a lion and tame the lion such that the lion becomes obedient to me. If I can, control a monkey such that the monkey becomes submissive to me, obedient to me, why can't I control my own self? I can control it. But it needs what? It needs willpower. So Lut sallallahu alayhi went on, propagating the message, warning them, calling them back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meanwhile, the Shaitan la'anahullah worked on the women of Lut's community. The traditions tell us that not only the men became homosexuals, but even the women became homosexuals. 30 years passed, and the people were persisting at sinning. Thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed to test them with one final test. If they fail the test, then they'll be annihilated. What was the test? Allah ta'ala decreed to send them angels, alayhi salam. The traditions say 3 angels. Jabra'il, Mika'il, and Israfil, alayhi salam. They came to Lut. But in what form? They also came in the forms of humans. Here, we need to remember that based on the traditions of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, the angels are also able to to change forms. Sometimes they take the form of a human. Jabra'il, Mikael, and Israfil, they come to Lut in the form of handsome men, beautiful men. They come to him as Lut alayhi salam is cultivating, working with his land. When he sees them, he tells them, where are you going? I've never seen anyone more beautiful than you. They tell him, our master has sent us to the chief of this community, meaning to Lut, salamullahi alayhi. Who's their master? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so Lut tells them, didn't your master tell you about my people and what my people do? He informed them that his people are homosexuals. And so they told him, our master told us that we should come to the city and we should walk in the midst of the city. So Lut told them, hold on. I have a need and I want you to fulfill it. They said, what is your need? He said, wait here. Wait until night time. When it's night, when the night arrives, then you can leave. And so they sat down. Meanwhile, Lut alayhi salam sent his daughter so she can bring them food, water, and clothing or blankets so they can protect themselves from the cold. The tradition says at a certain point it began raining. When it began raining, Lut alayhi salam told the angels who were in the forms of humans, he told them, let's go. And so they began their journey towards the house of Lut, salamullahi alayhi. He wanted to host them because, again, he was generous and he loved to have guests. So they began the journey towards his house. The tradition says Lut alayhi salam was walking beside a wall. It seems there was a wall on the street and he was right beside the wall, walking beside the wall. The angels, on the other hand, were walking on the midst of the street. Lut told them, come here, come close to the wall. Why? He doesn't want his people to see them. Because he knows if they see them, they're going to abuse them. They told him, our master told us to walk in the midst of the street. And so they continue their journey and they reach the house of Lut, salamullahi alayhi. They enter the house. Unfortunately, Lut had an inner enemy inside his house. His wife. His wife was not homosexual, but she supported him. And so when his wife saw that he had guests, and guests that were very beautiful, she tried to inform the people of Lut's guests, alayhi salam. But she failed to do it so. And so she lit a fire. The fire, caused smoke to emerge. When the people of Lut saw the smoke, they knew this is a sign that Lut has guests. And so they rushed towards the house of Lut, salamullahi alayhi. This is where the Quran al-Kareem mentions an interesting dialogue between them and Lut, salamullahi alayhi. Let us see what the Quran says. The Quran tells you in Surah Hud, وَجَاءَ قَوْمُهُ يُهْرَعُونَ إِلَيْهِ. His people came to him. But Allah says يُهْرَعُونَ, meaning they were rushing towards Lut, sallallahu alayhi. What was causing them to rush? Their desire. They were rushing, as if something was pulling them towards the house of Lut. They rushed towards his house. He says, وَمِنْ قَبْلُ كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. Before that instance, they used to, focus on the word used to, they used to perform evil deeds. They had a bad past, an evil past. When you have a contaminated past, then naturally you're going to see the results of that contamination. You're going to meet the results of those evil deeds you had committed in the past. And so Lut alayhi salam stood at his door to defend his guests, the angels. عليه السلام. Quran says, قال يا قوم هؤلاء بناتي هن أطهر لكم فاتقوا الله. He told them, my people, here are my daughters. Come and marry my daughters, for they are purer for you. Meaning, purity lies where? It lies in marriage. What kind of marriage? Marrying the opposite gender. Purity does not lie in homosexuality. Lord alayhi salam got to the point of telling them, I will marry my daughters. However, abstain from your evil deeds and do not hurt my guests. Here a question comes to mind, and that is, what does he mean by the word daughters? Is he talking about his biological daughters or someone else? Well, here we have two interpretations. One interpretation says, yes, he was talking about his biological daughters. It's as if he was saying, I, the Prophet, am willing to give you my pure daughter as long as you repent and you change your evil habits. But there's an ishkal, there's a problem that arises here, and that is, let's suppose Lut has 10 daughters, 20 daughters. The men of his community, their number exceeds the number of his daughters. So how will he marry all the men to his daughters? This is where the second interpretation comes in handy. The second interpretation says what? It says when he said Banati, he was talking about the women of his community.
Yes.
Because the Prophet is the spiritual father of the community. So he views that the men are his sons and the women are his daughters. By telling them, هؤلاء بناتهن أطهر لكم, based on the second interpretation, he's basically telling them, go back to your wives. Allah has created women for you. Why are you coming to them? So he says, هن أطهر لكم فاتقوا الله. So fear Allah. ولا تخزوني في ضيفي. Do not afflict me with disgrace by abusing my guests. أليس منكم رجل رشيد. Says, isn't there a man amongst you? Just one man who is enlightened, who is mature, who has wisdom. Fortunately, they were overwhelmed with misguidance. Here, one of the interpreters of the Quran says Lut alayhi salam was alluding to a reality, which is, if you have one man who's enlightened, one man who's a man of wisdom amongst the society, the presence of that man is enough to guide the society. As long as the people accept his words. If they don't accept, that's their problem. But the presence of one wise man amongst the society is a blessing. Because his presence can lead them all to heaven. قال, what was their response? قالوا لقد علمت ما لنا في بناتك من حق. Allahu Akbar. They told him, you know very well that we do not have the right to marry your daughters. That's what they said. What do they mean by this word? What interpretation says? They meant that we do not need to have a relationship with your daughters or with women. We want men. The other interpretation says, no, they actually meant that we do not have the right to marry them. You know what that means? It means they were so misled, so misguided, that they started viewing that what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right, such that they view they don't have the right to get married to women, but they do have the right to have relationships with men. ما لنا في بناتك من حق وإنك لا تعلم ما تريد. Surely you know what we want. قال لو أن لي بكم قوة أو آوي إلى ركن شديد. He said, if only I had the strength against you. If only I had a source of power to support me against you. Or were able to get the refuge of some strong support. The Mufassirin say when he says Ruknin Shadid, he was talking about a tribe. He wished that he had a tribe because he was truly lonely. He did not have a tribe amongst the people, amongst his community. So he wanted a tribe. He's wishing, he's saying, if only I had a tribe, I would have supported myself through them. They would have supported me. And through them, I would have stopped you from your indecent deeds. This, my brothers and sisters, is the interpretation of the zahir, the surface of the verse. But there's an inner interpretation. There's a batin that our Imams alayhi revealed for us. I want you to pay close attention to the batin because it pertains to Sahib al-Jumu'ah, Ashadallah Farajahu Sharif. There's a narration in the book Tafsir al-Ayyashi by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, which says, when Lut said, لَوْ أَنَّ لِي بِكُمْ قُوَّةً, when he said, I wish I had a source of power, he was referring to Sahib al-Zaman, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when he said, Ruknin Shadid, he was referring to the 313 generals of Imam al-Mahdi, meaning, Lut was saying, I only wish the Mahdi was present. If the Mahdi was present, circumstances would have been totally different, which is the truth. When Sahib al-Zaman rises, he will put an end to all indecencies, to all forms of injustice, to all forms of evil. And so, he said, لَوْ أَنَّنِي بِكُمْ قُوَّةً أَوْ آوِي إِلَى رُكْنٍ شَدِيدٍ. Here the tradition tells us that when Lut alayhi salam was going through those difficult moments, trying to defend his guests, Jabra'il told him, Lut, let them in. Let them come in. And so, the people of Lut barged into the house of Lut and made him fall. When they made him fall, Jabra'il gave him the good news. He told him, Inna Rusulu Rabbik, La yasilu ilayk. We are the messengers of your Lord, and they will not reach you, meaning they will not be able to harm you, O Lord. At that point, Jabra'il pointed with his finger towards the people of Lut, and because of that gesture, he made them blind. He became blind. Lut here understood, these are the messengers, these are the angels. He asked them, what has my Lord told you to do? You're messengers. You have a task. What's your task? They told him that they've come to punish the people of Lut. You know what said? He told Jabra'il, I have a need. He told him, what's your need? He said, I want you to punish them right now. Right now. Do not delay the punishment. Because I fear that my Lord will change the decree and will grant them respite. I want you to punish them right now. Here's Ibrahim 2001. He tells him, Inna maw'idahum as-subh. At morning, their punishment will come down. And Isa subhu biqareeb. Isn't the morning near? And so he tells him, Lut, leave. Leave with your daughters, but leave your wife behind. Why? Because her fate will be the fate of the people of Lut, because she is the Iqbal. And so Lut leaves, alayhi salam. Close to morning, Jabra'il, traditions tell us, Jabra'il lifts the city of Lut. He lifts it and keeps it suspended in the air until Allah's command arrives. At that point, he flips it upside down and smashes it on the earth. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bombards them with stones. This is a sign. This is a message from Allah. Look at how much He detests subhanahu wa ta'ala that deed. such that he flips their city upside down, and on top of that, he bombards them with what? With stones. It's a reminder from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a reminder that, oh people, homosexuality is not good for you. It destroys your communities. Make sure you avoid it. And it's also a reminder of what? It's a reminder that Islam does not accept homosexuality. One might say, why are you saying this? I mean, it's obvious. Islam does not accept homosexuality. It's very obvious, correct? But do you know why I'm saying it? Because unfortunately, there are certain movements today who are trying to convince the Muslims that you can be Muslim and homosexual at the same time. I've seen it with these two eyes. I've seen it. There are attempts to convince our Muslim men and our Muslim women that Islam is not against homosexuality. Who are you trying to fool? The Quran al-Kareem is clear. Allah tells you, I annihilated them. I destroyed them all, save Lut and his daughters. Why? Because they were homosexual. My brothers and sisters, it is very important to teach the story of Lut alayhi salam to the upcoming generation. Of course, when you see that, it is the right time. When you see that it is the right time to teach your child that story, teach it to him. That story will contribute in protecting the upcoming generation from indecencies. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Mustafa Muhammad wa alihi